He conquered fear and he conquered hate. He turned our night into day. He used his blazing saddle, a torch to light the way. How's that for more singing? I haven't had a chance to actually dig into that library of, shall we say, completely and totally usable music that Dave referred to. So I'm just gonna have to wing it until I can actually do that. Um, I'm trying to move this light around so that it actually provides decent front light. If you guys can see me okay, let me know. I like to think there's ample lightage with this one. Oh, when the friends come pouring in. Oh, when them friends come pouring in. Oh, when we have Lance Chafin in the house as Hey Thrash. You're always, if you're not number one, you're in the first five. So anyway, Lance, so awesome to see you. Cindy D is in the house. Cindy Squared. So glad you could make it tonight. Well, it's two. We're well on our way. We're gonna have so much fun tonight. I have a new surprise trivia game planned for tonight. I've put a lot of effort into it, and I'm sure we will all find it very, 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 very amusing. Gonna wait for a few more people to pop in, though. So far, we're at three. I see two. I'm sure three will make their appearance known in the not too distant future. Oh, Cindy D says, please tell Ian C I'm so sorry, Thrash, for me. I will. I'm sure no apologies are necessary, but I will. And sadly, Cindy, you raise a good point. You guys were our fans from the get go, and we're never too busy for our friends of channel. And you guys put a lot of thought into your input, and if we miss it, we are sorry. But I will pass it on, and I'm sure it will mean the world to him. Keith E says, what kind of music do groundhogs like? Underground music. Well, every groundhog shall have his day. It's the best I could do on such short notice. Oh, we're up to five. Five and a counting. Cindy D says, thank you, Thrash. I appreciate that. Well, we appreciate you as well, by the way. He felt terrible that he had thought he had hurt you, by the way, so I'm glad that you are officially letting both of us off the hook. Mr. Led says, hey, Thrash, Cindy, Lance, and Keith E. Mr. Led has learned the secret. Sometimes people just, everyone you know says hi to you all at once. And I'm trying to be like, try to highlight, hey Lance, hey Cindy, hey Led, hey. By the time you say hello to everybody, it's already time to say good night. So we'll have to do our hellos in block order on occasion. Keithy says Highlands, all the others, and all the others yet to come. Wow, hedging all our bets, aren't we? The foundation says hello, everyone, and hello to you, Toe Foundation, by the way. And risk of sounding like a broken record, have you guys had a chance to check out the foundation's channel yet? He does something which we have loosely coined as mirror dramas. It's where he does like a one act play, but he plays both parts and edits them together. And they're very, very entertaining. They're very similar to the Canadian comedian Lisa Noak, I think her name is. Very, very similar to that. They're very funny. So please, please check the foundation out. Lance says, why couldn't the witch and Dracula have kids? They had a Halloween. uh, Jimmy Neutron is in the house. Neutron John, how you doing? Hey, it's me. It's the new Neutron John. I love that nickname, Neutron John. By the way, I came up with it too. Let's just see. Cindy D says message retracted, and a message retracted to you. Oh, Cindy D says good one, Lance. The foundation says always appreciate the support, Thrash. Well, I appreciate your support as well. And again, keep churning out that great content. Tom, the Hungry Jerk, is in the house. Says hi, everyone. Tom, great to see you. Hello, hi. Don't know what was going on with that channel page. I gotta tell you something. I was having a problem. I think YouTube may have been glitching or something today. Like overall, when I was trying to post the photo on that community page about tonight's chat. It wasn't letting me do it. I finally got one on. It's missing the H in chat. It says "see at." So welcome to my "see at" cats and kittens. It did that to me last week. I guess Sarah was right, and H is our L. Let's see who else we could go. John Collins saying hello, John. I just saw you said you were going to be here tonight. So happy to have you as well. Welcome to the party. Jimmy Neutron says, how did you like the bonus box? I was actually going to mention that during the unboxing. I have a whole little skit bit something planned, by the way, but as I'm sure all you know, Jimmy Neutron or John Doe, as most of you know him, he sent me a very generous box of comics. But in addition to that, he sent me, it's like a card box for keeping your collectible cards when you were a kid. And it's all vintage Sunday morning comic strips. It's actually very, very, it's wild. Thank you very much. That really meant a lot. That was very, I don't know where you got that, but it's really slick. So he said, I heard comedic say Olivia Newton bomb LOL. Olivia Newton bomb? Tom says, thanks everyone. So Didi says, comedian. I kind of knew what you meant, but comedian. We're all on the same page. Madison Music Teacher says, hello from Rocket City. Do you remember what city I'm in? Well, you just said it yourself, Rocket City. And, Madison, Wisconsin, maybe. And so glad to have you. Welcome aboard. Kevin Scott 76, correct? Is this your other channel or you were related music teacher? Please let us know in the comments below. And I'm sorry, I don't know what I got going on today. It's been wet and damp up here on Cape Cod. I think I'm having like a respiratory thing. Not the COVID, by the way, but thank you for your concern. Tom says Houston. He guesses Houston, I should say. Let me skip down here. A lot of people having fellowship. John Collins says, Bob, apparently I missed the pretty eventful Tuesday live stream, but you're here for the very eventful Thursday live stream, and that's all that matters. BK on the air says, greetings, Thresh, and all buried is so glad to have you. In case you missed the big news the other night, Tuesday, BK has very, 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 very graciously invited me to be on his radio show with him and Alan in February, and I am over the moon for that. And we will let you guys know well in advance so you can all listen in. But again, I can't tell you how honored I am to be asked. And of course, guys, all check out Barry's podcast. But of course, I'm sure you guys all already knew that. Jimmy Neutron says, the box was homemade, got bored, and made it myself. You're welcome. I wondered if you actually made that box yourself, because it looked like something you might have been able to find at like Newbury Comics or something, but there was no type of manufactured info, barcodes, or anything on it. I wondered if you had made that. Anyway, it came out very nice, and thank you. I really appreciate it. Very professional too, by the way. I'll just see. Keithy says it is in Birmingham, Alabama, where Secret Rock Installation is. Ooh. Madison Music Teacher, I'm just going to say MMT. MT. Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah, it's me, Kevin. I knew it. You mentioned the other handle once ages ago, but I was so afraid that I'd be actually calling out the wrong person. He's like, who is this crazy person you're talking about? Sidney said, love the questions. I hope you have more tonight. I do. I have a special batch tonight, by the way, but I'll wait for a few more people to come on. Barry says Lance Kerwin passed away today. Actually, I believe it was yesterday. It was Tuesday, because we were talking about it extensively on Tuesday. Very, very sad. He was 62 years old. They may have released the cause of death today. I hadn't heard, and I'll read the rest of your comment. He was a big part of our lives on TV in the 70s and part of the 80s. My pal Michael Gray, Billy Batson from Shazam, called me today and was reminiscing about him. Yes, Dave also knows Ike Eastman, probably best known from Escape from the Witch Mountain movies. He also did a short-lived sci-fi TV show called Mysterious Island when I was a kid. And yet Lance Curran, my wife had a huge crush on Lance Curran, and she's devastated. They were in a movie together too, by the way. One of those after-school special movies, Duffy Moon, I think it was called, or something like that. Liz Chafin says, I was the first like. Everybody else follows suit. BK on the air says, passed yesterday. Correction. John Collins says, well, Bob, you hit big time the radio out of the big city, Atlanta. Oh, right outside thereof. I know. What is it? How does this song go? Well, George is always on my mind. It was best I could do in such short notice. Keith E says, at Thumper. I'm sorry that you didn't get that. I really am. I figured most of us with our age would have gotten a Bambi question from memory. Cindy D says, James at 15 and 16, great show. It really was. It was sort of a coming of age television show. And I loved it too because it was set in Boston. And of course, I grew up here in Massachusetts on Cape Cod. So anything set in my neck of the woods seemed outstandingly relevant to moi. The foundation says, my name is Alex, by the way, for anyone who'd like to use my real name in here. Alex, I will try. There would be me. That'd be Alex. Are your droogs coming, by the way, tonight? Sorry, I couldn't resist. Jimmy Neutron says, why is 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. I actually used that in one of my dad joke posts. And I'm actually managing to keep up so far. Keith E says, my real name is Trash, not to be confused with Thrash. Thrash? It's funny. A lot of people call me Trash, actually. Well, my friends do, at least. And Robbie from the Glitter Broom Girls calls me Trash Panda, which, of course, is slang for a raccoon. Cindy D says, 9 couldn't find the time. Well, it must have been 25 or 6 to 4. Alex says, Alex Foundation 148. It's all good with me. Mr. Lynn says, don't mean to poke the bear. Thrash, but something has come up and I have to run. Gave you a like, though. Mr. Led, I'm very glad you stopped by. And thank you for your gift, too, by the way. That, too, will be in my big unboxing bit. Gary Carpenter says, I'm here. He's back. Danny Staten says, hello, Pawns. Danny, hello to you. Hello, hello, hello. Always good to have Danny here with us. Madison says, our baseball team is called the Trash Pandas. I just think that name is adorable. I really do. We have raccoons up here, too, by the way. I imagine you have them in every state in the country, so that's nothing big. You don't see as many of them now since we've gotten the Koi Wolves. John Collins says, hey, Bob, maybe you can tell me, however, I've always been curious, what is the name of the song which ends WKRP in Cincinnati? It's an instrumental song. I don't know the name of it. I'll do some digging. I'll find out. I can't do it right now because I'm doing a show, but I'm not 100% off the top of my mind. No, it's not. There's that guy. He yells at the opening. Ask my bartender. Yeah, I know the song, but I don't know what the name of it is. I'll get back to you. And a lot of people having fellowship while we wait to see. I had over 20 people at Peak on Tuesday. I'm hoping to beat that record today. Danny Staten says, I am the Link Master, the Bot Slayer, bow to the king. Yes, Danny, we appreciate all your linking into the chat. I'm always telling people, check out this guy here, check out that guy there, and you make that the most possible, and we really appreciate it, by the way. Hey, while we're at it, would you mind giving links for the foundation and BK on the air? Neutron John says, imagine if they made Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a family musical. I think slasher films loan themselves to musicals. I really do. But it's hard to get funding for such, but I bet it would be a blast. There was a local acting troupe, this is years ago, here on Cape Cod, They did War of the Worlds as a musical, and it was. During the intermission, they threw Mars bars out into the crowd. Lynn says Lance Kerwin was good in Salem's Lot, real creepy also with David Soul. Just a little bit of soul. Crow Minion is free and with us. Hail to the king, baby. Mr. Minion, so nice to have you with us. Alex says, cold in my neck of the woods, superplex. What about everyone else? It's warmer than normal here on Cape Cod, but it is pretty cool. And it was actually cold and rainy last night, so we were actually very cold. Oh, and Superplex, how we doing? Good to see you. Welcome to the party. He goes on to say, imagine if they made Sesame Street as a slasher film. That could work. That could work. Tom says, finally no rain in California. John Collins says, do you know if the people who were kind of taunting your program on Tuesday were actual bots or were they actual people? I was not in, so I don't know. Can't tell if they were antagonistic or real Christian party jumpers. We decided to let them have their form. We just weren't going to read the comments out loud. But we'll see if they show up tonight. Gary Carter says, War of the Worlds as a musical. You're joking. I did not make that up. Lance Javen says, Christine, a killer rom-com. Yeah, it really was. Alex says, not yet, Madison, but seen it advertised on Netflix, something he must have recommended to you. Zerblick says, warm in Puerto Rico, but chilly by Puerto Rican standards. Neutron John says, I saw Evil Dead, the musical in Manhattan, first time. Danny Staten has just given us a link to Dave Sundstrom's secret channel. Excellent. Keithy says, hello, Crow. However, Siri spells it. Hello, super, or however Siri murder is it. Yeah, Siri is the bane of Keith's existence, but he does say hello. Crow Minion says, I remember hearing like a rock opera version of War of the Worlds back in the 80s radio. Yeah, they did. They redid the soundtrack. I remember that. I think my college radio station played it. Alex says, keep showing my support. This is one of 2 live I watch regularly. Always a great time. Daryl Johnson says, Bob, Daryl. My other brother, Daryl, good to see you. Jimmy Neutron says, they did make a Banana Splits horror movie. Crazy. Gary Carpenter says, imagine how they could use the Addams Family during the Civil War. I could see that. I could see that. Big Guys 45 says hello, and hey to you, Big Guys. Zerblick says Jaws the musical. Lance Chafin says Die Hard, good movie, a good car battery. A good car. Oh, Die Hard, but a bump. They did that in a commercial. Now that you mentioned it, took me a second, but I grok what you were saying. And Danny has just put the link to the foundation. Thank you. Big Guy says, and yes, the same infamous unsub glitch is messing me up. Numbers up and down again. Again, screw YouTube. Can't take this crap anymore. I'm sorry, my friend. Zerblick says, Gandhi, but make him a stand-up comedian. I thought he already was. Sorry, couldn't resist. John Bernstein is with us. When are the pizza puppies being served? Oh, I'm sorry. I had a homemade chicken strip bowl. It was really good. I use my own gravy. Let's just see. Mike and Kathy. Hey, Mike and Kathy. So glad to have you with us as always. Die Hard. Fantastic. Yes, and it is a Christmas movie. And Danny has given us a link to Big Guys 45. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes before I start my trivia game, but let me explain how this game is going to work this evening. Tonight's questions, what I did was I sifted through my content channel, and I went through a number of my applicable posts and took the trivia questions from the tidbits that I gave during each of these little videos. So basically, if you know the movies or science fiction works of which I speak, you'll do fine. If you're paying attention to me, since I've been posting, you will do exemplary. If you haven't been watching my stuff, you might have some trouble, but we will burn that bridge when we get to it. Big Guys 45 says went from 972 down to 969, then to 972, then 970. Like blank, it's crazy. Like it certainly is. Like Keithy says I was number 7 on the Lake Oroville, like Surrey, Surrey, Surrey. Been there myself. Big Guy says, Danny, thanks, Danny, for at least trying to help, buddy. Well, we'll always try to help you there, bro. Neutron John says they should make The Last of Us an 80s sitcom. Oh, that's bleak. Cindy D says, hello, Daryl. I said hit the thumbs up button already. Lance Chafin says, what do you get when you cross a parrot with a centipede? A walkie-talkie, but I'm bummed. You hear about the time they crossed the parrot and the gorilla? It said, Polly, want a cracker? Now. Oh my God, the Unapologetic Geek is here. And the Unapologetic Geek says, I always think I know a lot until you prove me wrong. Praise from Caesar. Tug, I live in the shadow of your knowledge. I just live in the blind spots. Oh, there's almost a poem in there. But Tug, you are amazing. And people who haven't checked out Tug, he puts out some amazing retrospects. In fact, I have to go. I support him on Patreon, so I get to see some of his stuff early. I have to remember to go back and watch it in YouTube so as to not throw off your algorithm. Algorithm. In fact, Danny, do the honors, please. But anyway, I want to say thank you for all you've brought us there, Tug, and thank you for joining us tonight. Gary Carter says, Thrasher, I'll give you some trivia later when I make them up. You might be surprised. Making up trivia questions is good, too. It's tougher for people to get them. Maggie Kathy says, Die Hard 2, not so good. I remember that one was very, very sad for me. Danny State just jumped off the page. My numbers go crazy too. I went from 169 to over 200 in one day, then back to 177 on one of my small channels. John Bernstein says, if this trivia is a contest, count me out. Winning something would require me to leave home. No, it's a trivia game. It's not a contest, so please no wagering. And no prizes will be entered. It's more just for bragging rights. But we'll start the trivia game in a little bit. Gary Carpenter says, what do you get when you cross a duck and a cup of milk? Milk and quackers. Quackers. Tug says, hey, Jenny, saw you in the comments. Thanks for watching. Love these crossovers of Community. John Collins says, Bob, thanks for answering my Brady Bunch question the other evening. I really don't understand why they were mad about needing more realism, because both the show itself and the television meant escapism. It certainly did. I think just based on what I've seen and all the behind the scenes stuff I've seen and read over the years, I think at the end they were all just very tired doing the show. They wanted to do other things. Sadly, most of them were straitjacketed to the franchise and ended up having to keep going back and doing it more and more. Either the animated or the later reincarnations. Even Jan went back. First Jan, not fake Jan. First Jan went back at one point. Emily Miller is in the house. I'm so glad to see you, Emily. Thank you for joining us. Super. Decided to save my money and wait for it to stream. I'm assuming that's something that somebody suggested that you should watch. Well, whenever you get a chance to watch it, I hope you enjoy. Pat is in the channel. He says, hey, gang. Pat, hey to you. So glad you could join us. Thank you so much. Lance Javen says Lance is going to have some brownies later. What kind of brownies? And Pat reiterated, gang. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. No worries. No worries. Big Guy says today was a great day besides the unsub crap. Well, I'm glad it was partial success for you. Madison says two guys walk into a bar, the third one ducks. John Burnson says, I remember a trivia question. What is the name of the grain in the Star Trek episode A Trouble with Tribbles? Quadra triticale. I believe I have most of the phonic elements down there. But yeah, and it's going to what planet? Give you a hint. Think Civil War general. Sherman's planet. Oh, and I have a little tidbit more about that coming up later, but I'll mention that when we get to the trivia game. And I leave it up to you. Do you guys want to start the trivia game now? Yeah, Bob, start the trivia game. Are you sure you want to start the trivia game now? Yeah, Bob, I want the trivia game. Okay, fine. We'll start the trivia game. Now, again, for those of you who just got here, today's is going to be a little different. What I did was I went through all my content shows and I picked out of them 10 pieces of information from my earlier content posts. Now, it's general information on sci-fi, horror, Gen X television, that type of thing. So some of you may know the answers anyway, but let's just say we'll see how well you guys have been paying attention over the years. And again, in no particular order. Okay, speaking of Gen X, the Gen X post-apocalyptic masterpiece / holiday film Night of the Comet. I'll repeat that. The Gen X post-apocalyptic masterpiece / holiday film Night of the Comet inspired what famous TV franchise? I'll say a few highs as people come pouring in. Teb is here, says, hello, Thrash. I have a serious important question for you. What are your thoughts on the Len's current passing? It was very, very sad. He was a very big deal when I was a kid, by the way. My wife had a crush on him as well. So she was devastated, and it is very sad. He wasn't that old either. He was only 62, only about 7 years older than I am. And leave it to Teb, the guy who comes in asking a question, to get the right answer. Okay, Superplex, Perfect Strangers, love it. Yes, Teb, it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. John Collins has another question here. Hey, Bob, you have seen the poem which I've written. I've placed it on my Facebook page. I'll double check for it. I haven't seen it as yet, but I'm going to move on to question 2. Okay, what famous Hollywood celebrity starred in the cult sci-fi classic film The Idaho Transfer? And again, I will repeat it. What famous Hollywood celebrity starred in the cult sci-fi classic feature film The Idaho Transfer? Give you guys a second. These are hard. Not if you watch my posts. Okay. I'll pass. I have no clue. Madonna, good guess, but wrong. Oh, number 1 dude. Hey, Thrash, I'm late. No worries. You're in time for... And you know what? I'm going to reread this question just for you then. What famous Hollywood celebrity starred in the 70s cult classic sci-fi film, The Idaho Transfer? Ooh. Teb says Peter Fonda. He directed it, and I believe he worked on the screenplay, but no. I'm going to have to give you guys this one. It was Keith Carradine. And it's my understanding that Keith did it because he was friends with Pete. He's the only celebrity in it. The rest of them were, shall we say, non-discovereds. Oh, Tug got it. Keith Carradine. Under the wire, but I'll give it to you. And I'll move on to my next question. The iconic post-apocalyptic action film She-Wolves of the Wasteland is also known by what other title? Yes, iconic post-apocalyptic action flick She-Wolves of the Wasteland is also known by what other title? Crowell, he got it. He put Phoenix. It's Phoenix the Warrior. But yes, you are right. When they showed on USA Up All Night and some other venues, it was Phoenix the Warrior. So yes, and I'll move on to my next question. Legendary sci-fi epic H.G. Wells' Things to Come jump-started what sci-fi horror subgenre? Now, this you could have gotten from one of my posts or one of Tug's. We'll see how long it takes Tug to get it. Anyway, I'll repeat it. Legendary sci-fi epic H.G. Wells' Things to Come jump-started what sci-fi horror subgenre? Give you guys another second. Tug says, I feel it would be unfair for me to answer, LOL. Horror, time travel, a lot of good guesses out there. Life Unsettling says, hello all. Tug and John Bernstein got it concurrently. Zombies. Yes, the Wandering Sickness, which is a part and parcel of the endless war which goes on during Things to Come, creates a state very similar to zombies and jump started the whole zombie subgenre. Oh, Golden Range of TV says, well, guys, it's a burn and turn for me tonight. Just love supporting Bob and saying hello to you all. Retro TV Trivia. The podcast is now Retro TV Radio. So, guys, watch for Retro TV Radio. I know I will. Thanks for joining us tonight, Pat. Have a great evening. Oh, Bobby Renee is in the house. Says hello, Gary. I assume that goes for the rest of us as well. Bobby, good to see you. Next question. In the Spider Robinson sci-fi anthology novel, Callahan's Crosstown Saloon, what former U.S. president is routinely mocked? I shall repeat. In Spider Robinson's sci-fi anthology novel, Callahan's Crosstown Saloon, what former U.S. president is routinely mocked? Ooh, number one dude with a good guess, LBJ. No, Tom's got it. Nixon, yes, Richard Milhouse Nixon. Oh, Steve says Calvin Coolidge or Martin Van Buren. Lincoln. I'm loving these, by the way. Go big or go home. Yes. Yes, it was Richard Milhouse Nixon. Next question. Oh, and this is the Star Trek one I was mentioning before. What famous Star Trek TOS episode was inspired by Robert Heinlein's A Stranger in a Strange Land? I shall repeat. What famous Star Trek, the original series episode, was inspired by Robert Heinlein's A Stranger in a Strange Land? Tug right out the gate, Charlie X, give the man a cigar. Oh, and we're on the subject of Heinlein. He also wrote a short story about this furry little entity which breeds prodigiously and ends up taking over a space station that was, as you know, repurposed for the trouble with tribbles, as we were just talking about earlier. Apparently, the writer who wrote it swore on a stack of Bibles he had never read the Heinlein short story, but what they did was they went to Robert Heinlein and offered him a collaborative credit and some money, and he took it. I don't know what happened with Charlie X. I think there was enough points of dissimilarity that they could skate. Okay, now this one's a broad one, just to show if you guys are paying attention, because there's more than one possible answer, and I'll accept any of them. Name one U.S. sci-fi TV series that was inspired by The Fugitive. I'll repeat, and I did a post on this, and I mentioned a bunch of them, and there's plenty more that I didn't mention. I'll leave it except ones I didn't mention. Name one U.S. sci-fi TV series that was inspired by The Fugitive. Logan's Run. Excellent. Babylon 5. I'll take it. Emily Miller. Hulk. Jimmy Neutron. V. I didn't see V enough, but I'll take it. Number One Dude. Sliders. Perfect. Tug. The Incredible Hulk. Steve. The Immortal. Didn't see it, but I'll take it. Keithy says, The Trouble with Tribbles. Statue. Jose, can we play Laverne and Shirley? I'll come in again. Trouble with Tribbles. Statue. Jose, can we play Laverne and Shirley? Somebody told me that Surrey really gaffed you on that one. A lot of people saying the Hulk. Will accept that. Mike and Kathy said Barney. Oh, what the heck. Yes, I'll accept that. So Blick says, 0 for 7 because you were just kidding, T-Pawns. I never kid about trivia. But I'm sorry. Tug is 5 out of 7. Tom, 1 out of 7. Again, it's an exhibition, not a contest, so please no wagering. But anyway, I'll finish. I got 2 more. Are you sure it's only 7? Did I miss one? 4, 5, 6, 7. That was question 8. Well, anyway, I still got 9Zs and 10Zs. 9Z. In the Cutting Edge YouTube mini movie, We Sit, We Drink, and No Guns, it takes place in what setting? I shall repeat. Cutting Edge YouTube post-apocalyptic short film, We Sit, We Drink, No Guns, takes place in what setting? Oh, and I love Tom says, if this was strip poker, I'd be naked. Lance David says, beats me. Zublik says, in the DMV. Oh, that would make it even more post-apocalyptic. Tug says, what? All right, I'll repeat the question. In the Cutting Edge YouTube post-apocalyptic short film, that is to say, it's right here on YouTube, and it's entitled, We Sit, We Drink, No Guns. It takes place in what setting? Ooh, The Foundation. That's pretty close. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give it to you. He says in a saloon. And yes, it takes place in this sort of glorified strip mall. But most of the action takes place in this one saloon. And you know what? I don't want to get too far into it because, well, I want you folks to see it. I'll get back to that in just a minute. But yes, the main action takes place in a pub. And the last question for this evening, number 10, is... Oh, wait. I know. I did skip one question. I must have lost the card. But it's okay. I have the question in here. Oh, Teb said in Los Angeles. I will accept that. The question was not quite specific. I meant like in what type of facility, what was the setting, not just the city or the country. What was the setting of the action? But yes, the question that I missed, question whichever, in the action/coming-of-age film, The Warriors, name 2 of the rival gangs depicted in the film. So just name 2 other gangs that appear in The Warriors besides The Warriors. Oh, Gary Kemper says Aloha spelled backwards is Aloha. Love it. Number One Dude says the Rollerblades and the Jokers. I know the ones you're talking about. I don't know if that's their actual names. I'll give you half credit for that one. Steve says the Bats and the Beer Bottles. Half credit. Sublik says the Jets and the Sharks. I'm giving you no credit from that because you know darn well. Lance Javen says the Lizzies and the Furies. I'll give you that one. Riffs and the Orphans. Love it, yes. Orphan and the Baseball Guys, Baseball Furies. Yes, we'll accept that. Cindy D says, "What are the gangs in the movie The Outsiders?" Ooh, we're gonna play dueling trivia. Okay, you do realize I love those books when I was a kid. It's the Socs and the Greasers. Hold that thought, gang. Battery was going dead. I got it plugged in. I lost my backdrop. I'll get it in a second. Cindy D says, yes. Big Guys 45, I'm 30 away from my 1K goal, but due to the glitch, don't know if I'm ever going to get there. You certainly will. You certainly will. Mike Kelly says, earthquake. Yeah, I had a chair here when I was getting my stuff on, and I had to knock it out of the way. Lost my backdrop. But anyway, a true backdrop. Yes, it's a backdrop. I'll get that in a second. Lance Javen says, love the fight at the end scene in the Warriors in the bathroom. That's a really, really epic battle. Jimmy Neutron says the Warriors, but planning to give it away. Ziplik says, pay no attention to the man behind the screen. I was in front of it, actually, but pay no attention to me. And Limo says, I think one is all I'm going to get tonight. Grimity says, can you dig it? I love that part. Tug says, I don't know how many we are, but I've only missed 3 of these. I'm killing it. You certainly are. Tom says, love the gang movie, The Wanderers. I really do too. I love that one too. Ken Wall was great in that film. Steve says, love it. No green screen like some other fancy YouTubers. Yeah, we're a no frills network here. John Bernstein says, love the alcohol in the corner. Yeah, that's my wife's little dry wet bar, you might say, actually. Oh, speak of the devil. Hi, dear. Yes, no, I didn't lose any of your cocktails, by the way. she's laughing at me, by the way. Oh, be a dear. Oh, that's okay. I got it. There. I think that's it. In any event, the last question. I never did get to the last question. Yes. Name any work by Brian Wilson Aldiss. As I'm sure if any of you have been paying attention, you will all know my favorite author on the planet of any genre. Yes, I said it, genre. Of any genre is Brian Wilson Aldiss, OBE, RIP. And I've talked about him on several occasions. Now, just name something he wrote: sci-fi, nonfiction, short story, poem, anything. Let's see what we got going on here. Give you guys a second. Green Giant. Oh, by the way, if I missed anybody while I was busy pontificating, feel free. Jimmy Neutron says, a thrash one time is okay, but if you change the battery while using it, actually burns out the bat. Ooh, I did not know that. I did not know that. Well, what happened was I was actually using it earlier and was away from the cord. I just forgot to plug it back in. From now on, what I'm going to do is anytime I'm actually doing a show, I will have it plugged in. I just forgot this time. Let's just see. Well, Chrome Minion, Horatio Stubbs. Yes. Excellent. Yes. Very good. Tug says Super Toys last all summer long. Correct. The basis for EI. Extra points there. Chrome Minion says that goes way back. It sure does. It sure does. So it looks as Gone with the Wind. Teb says, what's the question again? Yeah, no, I kind of went long-winded on that one. Science fiction author Brian Wilson Aldiss. Name anything he's written. It could be sci-fi. It could be his nonfiction, collections of poetry, short stories. I'm always talking about him on my channel. So just name anything that he's done. Steve says, I think someone's using Google. At this point, I don't mind if you cheat. John Collins says, Bob, have you ever seen the movie The Little Dictator with Charlie Chaplin, The Great Dictator, and I own it. Yes, I have never seen the film. I've only seen the last monologue of the movie. Do you think I would enjoy the film? The film is absolutely amazing. It's not one of his funniest works. It is one of the few works he did that is a soundy, that is in a silent film. It wasn't his first one. Modern Times, I believe, was his first one, but it's excellent, and it does satirize the Third Reich. It is worth it. So yes, check it out. I do own a copy, but it's on videotape. I'm sure you could find it probably here on YouTube. Mike and Kathy said Hot House, my personal favorite. Yes, Hot House. He did write that. Emily Miller says, ask me about Stephen King, Michael Crichton, Dean Koontz, and I'm there. Okay. Name something written by Stephen King. The things I won't do for my fans. Teb says Super Toys last all summer long. Yep. Tug said that would be a fun trivia game, Emily. Yep, that certainly would. Gary Kemper says Charlie Chaplin was married 9 times. Crazy. Dave Florian is here. He says, hi, gang. A lot of people saying hi to Dave. So it says, Gravity's Rainbow? It might have been one of his collections. He made a lot of collections of his short stories, and some of them were known by different names. He had a habit of retitling them. Sometimes when he sent them to America, sometimes when he just came out with new editions. So maybe. Skipping down. I think that's all the guesses we got for Brian Wilson Aldous. John Burton says, so long, farewell, we just said goodbye. I hate to go and leave this pretty site. Oh, you take it off, John. No problem. Thank you for joining us. It was very nice having you. Okay, so here's my request. Just so you know, all of those pieces of information are in my content pages. And a lot of my content hasn't been viewed. So what I'd like each of you to do tonight, or not tonight, tomorrow, whatever you get the free time, go into my content section, just pick at random, pick one of my posts, watch it in its entirety, and leave a comment. If you like, you can even hit like, but just watch one of my posts. It's helps me, and it will help you for the next trivia game, won't it? And for those of you who did get an above average number of questions right, I tippeth my cap to you. Cribbington says Stand By Me was in different seasons, and called The Body. Yeah, it's even a lot darker than the movie. Emma Miller says Richard Bachman was a better author. I've read some of his, but it could go either way. Gary Carpenter says sayonara to JB. Bobby Renee says a roommate. I look forward to seeing true horror animated story about it. Not familiar with that one, but I'll check it out. Cindy D says I like John Singleton's version of Stand By Me and Boys in the Hood. I've seen Boys in the Hood, and I've seen each of the stories. I didn't see the connection to Stand By Me though. I've got to rewatch that film. I haven't seen that film in years. Clarence Williams III as the impresario was he was riveting in that movie. I absolutely loved it. He died recently too. It's such a shame, but he was great in that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Boys in the Hood again. Tug says my favorite thing King ever wrote was Ballad of the Flexible Bullet. Fornet from Foreign's. I don't think I've ever read that one. Daryl says, hey, I was looking for the warrior thing you did and I couldn't find it. It's in my content section. It's a black thumbnail with white lettering, and it says the Warriors retrospect with game-changing theory or something like that off the top of my head, because it's one of my top 10 lists where I support a theory of mine, which I won't tell you until you actually see it. But check it out. Let me know what you think. I'll just see. So yes, let me know what you think of that one. Criminal says Shawshank Redemption and Opt Pupil were both based on stories in different seasons too. His short stories, I think, are his best stuff, to be honest with you. Not that I'm on some of his longer works, but Gary Carter says, Bobby, no, nothing like that. He is paying me rent. Emily Miller says, people, shoosh. Cindy D just jumped off the page, but I'll find it. Here it is. Cindy D, the opening scene thrash. Zuplik says, unapologetic, the stand makes a great dumbbell. It is thick and heavy, I'll give you that much. Tom says 5 of the Warrior actors gonna be at a convention. Really? Next month? Excellent, excellent. Lance Cheeverman says the Green Mile tears were had. I can certainly understand that. Steve says The Immortal is the American television series starring Christopher George as a man whose blood chemistry was chemistry and resistance to almost all diseases. Okay, yeah, I saw a couple of those on AMC or something years ago. But yeah, right, yeah, I am familiar with that. Thank you. Cromingan says the story version of Our Pupil is one of the darkest things I've ever read. I could see that. Number one dude says to Cindy, right on. Steve says, including old age makes him both almost immortal and a target of several wealthy men who would basically use him as a personal blood bank. Aired on ABC from September 24, 70 to January 14th, 1971. Yeah, again, I saw it was back when, I can't remember. When some channel was showing a lot of those old classic TV shows, and I caught a couple episodes back then, but that was years ago. Gary Cameron says, I'm going to try to use the Godzilla roar on my phone. That would be awesome. Trey Thoros Myers is in the house, says, hi, everyone. Great to see you, Tracy. And let's see what else we could go. A lot of people saying hi to Tracy. Tug says, that is the most iconic roar, to be sure. I actually really like the legendary Godzilla roar, though. Emily Miller says, I read The Stand about twice a year. Wow. The extended version that's 1,200 pages, that's crazy. Gary Garber says, geek, destroy all monsters. Jimmy Neutron says, I know it's old thrash, but did you ever see the trailer of Frasier as mob boss? I don't think I did. It doesn't ring any bells. And Lewis says, actually, I read most of my books about twice a year. That's crazy. Excellent. I never read as much as I'd like to anymore, I'm afraid. Lance is reminding us Retro Nerd Girl is having a watch party at 4 p.m. Battle Beyond the Stars. Should be a lot of fun. Tug says there's very few books I've read more than once. There's just too many other books waiting to be read. I have read some books more than once, but again, sadly I don't have time to read a lot of them more than once. Daily Dan says, he's given a link to the Unapologetic Geek. Thank you. Foundation says, gotta go, guys. See you for the next live quiz. That should be next Tuesday. We'll kind of pencil in next Tuesday. Tug says, I've read the Lord of the Rings trilogy twice. The whole, even including The Hobbit? Tug says, and my wife is the same way. She has her comfort books. That's very nice. A lot of people saying goodbye to the Foundation. Dan's just giving us a link to Steve on his Life of Sad ending. Emily Lewis says, I still haven't read those, Tom. Daryl says, found it on the watch later list. That's my Warriors retrospect. Yeah, check out some of my earlier posts, guys. You might find them entertaining, particularly if it's topics that you find interesting. If you don't, I more than understand. But it will certainly help my algorithms. Tug says, ironically, Foundation is a book I've read more than once. I think I've read at least 3 times. All of them? That's a lot of reading. Zerblick says, if you want to read a good book, read The Spy Who Came from the Cold. Excellent, excellent book. Cindy D says, music quiz, I hope thrash, LOL. I could do a music quiz. I could do a quiz on music. I'll see what I can put together, but yeah, I can do that. Teb says, Thrash, which 70s family centered show do you like the most? The Brady Bunch, The Partridge Family, The Waltons, uh, L Hopped, Good Times, One Day at a Time, or Eight is Enough? I love The Brady Bunch and The Partridge Family. I started watching those when I was a kid. I did like The Waltons. I absolutely loved Good Times. One Day at a Time and Ain't Enough for good. And I'm so embarrassed. I can't think of what. Oh, Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, it finally clicked in. I love that show too. So there's not a bad one on that list. Let's just see. A lot of people liked all or most of them. Tracy Rothmeyer say, I'm not staying too long. I feel under the weather, but I thought I would pop in and say hi. Love you guys. So glad you could make it. Thank you. Oh, and Bobby, you brought up a good point. Retro Nerd Girl does Central Time. So it might be 5 o'clock Eastern Standard. So don't listen to me as far as what time goes. But she does have the watch party for Battle Beyond the Stars. And there were two things she's doing. She's doing something on Friday and doing something on Saturday. So check out Retro Nerd Girl. Neutron John says, you should look it up on YouTube. Dark Fraser, it's funny. I won't give the shocking hit he warned his brother to do, but definitely see it. I will. Tug says, even the prequels love me some Harl Seldon. Dan just did a link to Big Guys. A lot of people saying, hope Tracy feels better. Zublik reminded us it's by John le Carre. The Spike from the Cold. It certainly is. Cindy D says, cool, thanks, Rash. I love music as long as it's grooving on a Sunday afternoon. Lance Chafin says, Cindy, I hated when the dad got killed off in Good Times. That was a very, very, very sad episode. Steve says, Thrash, to grow subscribers, turn some of your previous videos into shorts. A big YouTuber told me about it, and it works. I was wondering about that. I'm so long-winded. I don't know if I could actually microcosm them down to like a few seconds. But I'll see what I can do. Thank you for the tip. Skipping down. I'm actually caught up. Cindy D says, me too. I weakened the show. Lance Chafin. You never weaken anything, Cindy D. You're the rock. Tug says it's also a good Pink Floyd song. I clearly am missing something. But Trebigan says my time traveler anonymous meeting was changed from tomorrow to last Thursday. Teb says, Thrash, which 80s family-centric show do you like the most? Different Strokes, Webster, Punky Brewster, Family Ties, The Cosby Show, Who's the Boss, Growing Pains, Mr. Belvedere, or Alf? Alf. Those are good shows. I remember watching most of them, but I loved Alf. Probably because I could impersonate him. Alf, what are those? Deep fried peanut butter banana sandwiches. Elvis loved them. He could eat 20 a day. And you think he's still alive? Tug says, I had the same problem, Thrash. I can't cut anything down to short length. I know, because I pontificate. Maybe in future posts where I could do like little micro points, but I'll see what I can do. Tug says, Alfred Cosby. I know which one I'd rather be stuck in an elevator with. Cindy D says, James Evans' death on Good Times week. Oh, that weakened the show. It did. Well, Cindy, you remember on one of the posts I did where I talk about Good Times, James Evans, originally it was seen as sort of an urban Father Knows Best, and he was going to be the central figure. Unfortunately, because the audiences enjoyed the shenanigans of JJ because he was very, very funny and very charismatic. The show each week centered more and more around him, and John Amos felt marginalized in a very similar way to Different Strokes. Different Strokes is supposed to be an ensemble cast piece, but since everybody loved, I almost said Webster, because everybody loves Coleman, the other actors in the show were basically written. There's one scene in the behind the scenes TV show they did about that, where Todd and Plato are looking at their lines. Like, how many lines do you have this week? I got 6. How about you? I got 5. So, yeah, it's sad how shows can actually turn on their own stars, but like they say, that's showbiz. Cindy D says Different Strokes' greatest crush on Todd Bridges. Loved him and Charlene. I just jumped again. I'm just going to skip down. A lot of people say, Different Strokes. A lot of people say Different Strokes. Cindy D said he had a contract despite with Norman Lear as well. Well, that was how they got around it. He was paid a leading man's salary, but wasn't given the leading man's scripts. They basically tried to buy him off. They say, well, what are you so upset about? We're paying you as the star and not making you read as many pages. And if anything, I think John Amos was even more insulted by that. It was a damn shame. It really was. I just jumped again, but I think I was caught up. Yeah. Yes. Jimmy Neutron says mentally I'm not good because of all the stuff I'm going through. Don't know if I'll stay. Stay as long as you feel comfortable with, Neutron John. If you want to duck out, that's more than fine. Get some rest, and we'll see you very, 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 very soon. And again, thank you for your gifts, by the way. May I learn generosity from you. And I'm kind of sad tonight too. Not sad, just run down, very tired tonight too. It's probably the lousy weather we've been having. Oh, John H says, I'd love to try a PB and B sandwich, peanut butter and banana. Does someone serve them at Graceland? They'd almost have to. Oh, and hey, John H, good to see you. Let me just check. I think I missed something here of some importance. So, what the heck? But anyway, I'm going to skip back to where I was. And let's just see what we're going to. Dan says, how about that sick episode where Mr. Carlson wanted to give Gary Coleman a few... Yeah, Mr. Carlson, the actor whose name eluded me for a moment, played a pedophile in one episode. And it was very, very, very disturbing. And let's just see what else we got going on here. Live and Setting it says, wouldn't John Amos be the last living cast member of the Mary Tyler Moore Show? He is. He is the last living cast member. There was one other recurring character they mentioned, but for some reason they don't count him. I don't think he was in enough episodes where he played different people in different episodes. You have to play a single recurring character. I'm not sure, but John Amos is definitely last, in my opinion. Emily Miller says, Dodd, it's a bit thicker than regular yogurt. Someone had to mention yogurt. Diligent says, sometimes I just put a comment in to see if Pond skips it. LOL. Did I skip another one of your comments, by the way? I thought I've been getting most of them. Apart from the hellos and how you doings and hellos and how you doings. But anyway, if I did skip yours, I do apologize. I jumped a couple times. I think you saw me. I went back, but I kind of missed it. But anyway, Dan, I'll try not to skip. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says the life and sad ending, I guess. He was only on a handful of episodes. Yes, he was. I think he was only in one season. Lance Javen says, Tuck, have you seen 3,000 Miles to Graceland? Then one dude says M better than Go-Gurt. Cindy D says, I binge watched that recently, Hungry Jerk Dance Fever. Emily Miller says, dude, I don't know, Frozen Go-Gurt is pretty damn good. Dude says, nice. Tug says, is that the one with the Kurt Russell Lance? I've not seen it, but I wanted to. Daily Dan says, no, but you should have. I should have missed your posts. All right, I'll try to miss them more in future. Carrie Carpenter says, peanut butter banana. Mikey Kelsey says, hello, how you doing? I'm assuming that's just somebody who just jumped on. I'm not sure who, but yes, hello, and how are you doing? Bobby says, I away. Host to ignore your comments, Dan. I try not to ignore anybody's. Usually if I do skip it, it's the ones where I'm assuming people are just saying, hey or goodbye or referring to somebody else's specific things in the chat. Like, for example, Bobby Renee just said illiterate phone. An illiterate phone to you. Teb says, Thresh, which 80s/90s TGIF show do you like the most? Full House, Perfect Strangers, Family Matters, Step by Step, Dinosaurs, Boy Meets World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There's some good ones in there. I love Perfect Strangers. I love Family Matters. I'm gonna have to go with Dinosaurs. I love Dinosaurs. Emily Miller says Sabrina. Creminian says Bubba Hotep was fun. Speaking of Elvis, that movie is just crazy. Tug says, I thought you said Danny Trejo. No, Danny Terrio. He had a dancing show in the back in the day. Zuplex says Step by Step. Gary Carpenter said Sabrina. Jimmy Neutron says, I think I'll have a pan to steel sandwich. Tug says Dinosaurs all the way. Cindy says they were better, although Aiden Quinn was cute, LOL. Criminal says a disco show with Danny Trejo. I'd watch that, LOL. Yeah, what was that show? I remember getting a show back in the day, but I can't remember what the name of it was. A lot of people like Dinosaurs or Family Matters. A lot of people like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Saved by the Bell. Elzer Blake says I couldn't stand the baby. Not enough. John Collins says, Bob, I became selfish for 10 minutes. I went back to your archives and watched your movies versus book review presentation of A Christmas Story, of which I am mentioned. I also shared it on my Facebook page. Thank you, John. You are too kind. Thank you very much. Tom says Danny Terrio taught John Travolta how to disco dance. I remember the commercial. He had a commercial for his dance tapes where he said that. And Cindy D, I'm sorry. It wasn't Aiden. It was Adrian Zemed. Yes, who was on TJ Hooker and Bachelor Party and a bunch of other stuff. Criminal says, I love the Archie's comics as a kid. Who didn't? Gary Cameron says, HJ, he is still alive. Not sure who's still alive, but I'm glad of it. And Lance Shaven says he was in TJ Hooker and Grease 2. I'd forgotten about Grease 2. Hungry Jerk says, hope so, Gary. Tug says you should watch Thrash's She-Wolves of the Wasteland review. For some reason, that one had a spike in like one day. It got like 500 hits. So yeah, you should watch it and try to get it to spike again. Thrash, which early 90s sitcom do you like the most? Roseanne, Saved by the Bell, Murphy Brown, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or Blossom? Love The Fresh Prince. Wasn't a huge Saved by the Bell fan. I'm going to go with Murphy Brown. I was far more politically active back then, so I'm going to go with that one. Chromian says, Danny Trejo probably taught John Travolta how to wield a machete. Machete kills. And Moomer says, Crow just watched Archie return to Riverdale, and it was better this time than the first time. Suplik says, Murphy Brown. Yes, I could agree with you more. Gary Cameron says, have you seen She-Wolf of London? No, but I love it. Tug says Aiden Quinn, is that the guy from Benny and June, among other things? Yes, that is Aiden Quinn, and he was in a bunch of stuff, particularly back in the 80s. Cribbington says I need to watch that. Madison says the recent Elvis movie would have been really good if they had cut it down to 2 hours and also found another actor besides Tom Hanks. Ouch. Emily says Murphy Brown and Fresh Prince. Yes, great minds think alike. A lot of people like it. Fresh Prince and Murphy Brown, those seem to be the big winners. Jimmy Neutron says Danny also was the first guy to say Merv Griffin was gay, which he was. I did not know that. Emily says, I love Tom Hanks. Criminal says, the Carlton dance fills me with joy, lol. It should. Owen City says, that was tape. Oh, that's right. She says, Murphy Brown Fresh Prince, I used to take them off my VCR. And yes, of course, back then you had to put them on videotape. Let's see. Tug says, woo, Werewolves of London. Lance Javen says Betty and June has Johnny Depp in it. It sure did. And speaking of Charlie Chaplin, he does a Charlie Chaplin impression in that, which is very, very good. Adrian Zemans appeared on MeTV promos for TJ Hooker when the network had it. I believe it. Tom says, you mean Perv Griffin? Ooh. Tug says, yep, Depp was another Benny, but Aiden Quinn was June's older brother. Yes. And what? He was in some other film. Was it Desperately Seeking Susan? Yeah, he was in Desperately Seeking Susan. I think that was the first thing I'd seen him in. A lot of people showing love for Johnny Depp. Mike and Kathy says Murphy Brown reboot did not work. Yeah, it was kind of a capsular show. Tug says he does not. He does a Buster Keaton impression. You heathen. He had the cane and picking up the hat. I could have sworn that was a Charlie Chaplin impression. Where he drops the hat and he's picking up with the cane. You know more about silent film than I do. I'm gonna have to rewatch the scene because I thought the whole thing with the walking stick and the funny walk was him doing a Charlie Chaplin impression. I haven't seen the movie in 20 years, so every now and then a wire gets crossed. It could be a Harold Lloyd impression for all I know. Jimmy Neutron says behind the scenes they say Merv Griffin was a creep. I believe it. Everyone was back then. Teb says the character of Elaine Bennis did not exist in the 1989 pilot episode of Seinfeld titled Seinfeld Chronicles. She's actually loosely based on Elaine Boozler, who was a stand-up comedian who was huge in the 80s, who I believe Seinfeld was romantically involved with at a time when he was writing the screenplay. Cindy D says, I thought Lester Wilson taught John Travolta how to dance. Everyone claims to have taught John Travolta how to dance. I wouldn't be surprised if Rambo said he taught John Travolta how to dance. John Collins says, Bob, why do you think it is that the revival of Murphy Brown did not last long? It seems like it would have been a perfect show for today's climate. I actually never had a chance to see it. I just know I think the reason Murphy Brown worked so well, it wasn't necessarily the politics, it was the chemistry. And it was that newsroom group that everybody loved. The politics was almost the backdrop. It was sort of MASH. MASH isn't about the Korean War. It's about the group of characters. So that is my guess. Joe Blick says, I think Mary Stuart Masterson was June. She was. I'm skipping down. I think I got a little bit behind here. Forms content says Benny and June does the dancing potato gag. Like I said, I'm going to have to rewatch the movie. I haven't seen it in ages. Daily Dan, the good stuff, has given us another link to Mike and Kathy. Thank you very much. Emma Miller says, RDJ does a great Chaplin. Johnny says, I remember that Inquirer article when Danny Terrio made the comments about Merv. Number one dude says, didn't Bob Downey Jr. play Chaplin? In the movie Chaplin, yes. And Gary Cameron says, June Lockhart, was she in Wolf? I don't recall. I got her autograph, though, but I don't recall. Tug says he did, dude, and he was excellent in the role. So D says, I remember hearing that as a kid to Tom, the Uncle Jerk, about Merv Griffin. Steve says Ronnie and Nancy were very close friends with Merv. I didn't know that. Number one dude says, to Tug, never seen it, but want to check it out. To Tom, Hungry Jerk. Johnny says Betty and June was an early movie for Leo D. Cindy D says, why wasn't she on the show, Thrash? I don't know. I honestly, it's my understanding that, well, again, she wasn't in the pilot. I don't know why, because I was actually just watching something recently, and they wondered why they went with Julie Louise Dreyfus instead of Elaine Boozler. My guess is Elaine Boozler, while she's a very, very funny stand-up comedian and has great presence, she wasn't an actress. And we learned that, remember back in the 80s, they kept trying to make stand-up comedians TV stars. They were all getting their own shows. In fact, there was one with um, Randy Quaid, where the entire cast of the show were made up with stand-up comedians. Not all of them could act. So my guess is they wanted to go with an actual actress, in the same way they didn't cast Larry David for Costanza, and they cast Costanza for Costanza, and thusly. Teb says in the Seinfeld pilot episode, Kramer was referred to as Kelsler. I had completely forgotten that. Crimean says, I remember Elaine Boozler. She was a hoot. She was great. She actually did do some acting. For those of you who remember the TV series Coach, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. The guy he does the voice of Patrick Star on SpongeBob. The kid who helps the coaches out. Either him, one of them is dating. I think it was him. One of them dates a blind woman. Elaine Boozler plays the blind woman, so she could act. But I think they just wanted someone who was a more experienced actress. Oh, that's just my theory. And I'm a little behind, so I'm going to go back here for just a second. Johnny says, I think Elaine B. character was based on Seinfeld writer Carol Leifer. That might be it. She might be a composite character. She might be. I had heard she's based on Elaine Boozer, but they did that a lot where they would combine different people to make one character. Derek Campbell says, Friday the 13th, the TV series. John H. says, I think Kevin B's first movie was Animal House. Ooh, possibly. Madison says, Tom Hanks is awesome, but playing the villain at 400 pounds with 3 chins with strange makeup took me out of it. I'll buy that. Neutron John says, I like She-Wolf of London, the series. Is there such a thing? I thought we were making it up. Tom agrees Animal House was correct. Cindy D says, why wasn't Carol Leifer in the show then? Again, probably couldn't act. Johnny says, I hated the politics of Murphy Brown, so I rarely watched it. Number one dude says, Tremors for Kevin Bacon. Lance Chafin says, what was Janet Jackson's first TV show? Good Times. She was like 11, I think, when she started doing it. Maybe 12. And Laura says, I got you, Madison. And then she goes on to say, I loved politics, John. Criminal says, I don't know if Elaine is gay or not, but if so, she may have still been giving men a shot back then. Could be. We just jumped. So I'm going to go back it up a little bit here. Here we go. Gary Carpenter says, I was thinking of the movie. Oh, gotcha. Oh, a lot of people are saying Good Times. Yes, it was Good Times. Ooh, Cindy says the Jackson 5 show. The cartoon show? I don't think she was in that. Or do you mean one of their TV specials? But I believe her first sitcom was Good Times. John Collins says, Danny, how is that you paste hyperlinks? I've never been able to do that. I've never gotten it to work. Steve says his name is Jason Alexander. How dare you? Well, I'm referring to the Costanza character. Costanza is a composite. He wasn't just Larry David. He was mostly Larry David, but they combined this as well. And I'm going to lose my backdrop again. But yes, of course, The actor's name is Jason Alexander. But Larry David is not Jason Alexander. Gary Cameron says Thrasher. She was in the original movie. I'm sorry, I've lost track of who we're talking about. Elaine Boozler. In any event, forgive me. I think we have a couple of different conversations all kind of coming together. Cindy says she played Mae West with her brothers. I just don't recall that, Cindy. I'm sorry. Zublik says William Daniels. Don't tell me William Daniels is dead. Please don't. Please don't. I've been a fan of his forever. Love St. Elsewhere. And Lindler says, John, I think only mods can do it. Oh, that might be it. That might be it. Criminal says, oh, I know that, but I can't think of his name. I'm not sure what we're talking about, so I can't either. Tug says, oh, no, that's Squidward. Yeah, Patrick Star. We were just talking about The Stand. Remember the TV series The Stand? He plays M-O-O-N. M-O-O-N. That spells, all I can think of now is M-O-O-N. But you know the guy. The Stand is another thing I'm going to have to watch again. I haven't seen The Stand in years. Love that when it came out. Teb says, also to the Seinfeld pilot fun fact, Monks was originally named Pete's. I did not know that. Gary Cameron says, the teacher from Boy Meets World. Yeah, that's William Daniels. He was also in, Steve, I'm sure you remember this. He was also in Captain Nice, which I had that theme song stuck in my head for days when I watched that post. Let's just see. Oh, I see. Roger Bumpus was the guy's name. Could be. Patrick Warburton was on Coach. He may have been. Patrick Warburton was also on Seinfeld. Tom says, I was in love with Topanga from Boy Meets World. Gary Gabby says, Judy Tenuta was also funny. Didn't she just pass on? I thought I heard that she just passed on. Zublik says, I believe William Daniels was in Captain Nice. Yes, he was the star of Captain Nice, the very short-lived superhero comedy. Emma Miller says, I love listening to Patrick Warburton talk. Liz Javen says, name both Riddlers from Batman, Frank Gorshin and John Aston. Tug says, politics. A lot of people getting the Frank Gorshin and John Aston probably before me, but like I said, I just saw it. Teb says, you mean George Costanza, Thresh. Well, I said Costanza. I don't think I mentioned the first name. But yeah, instead of Mr. Costanza, yes, George Costanza. You know, played George's father was Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's father in real life. In fact, if you watch the Ben Stiller show, one episode he makes fun of one of those old horror anthology shows about a late night shock jock who finds himself to be in league with Satan inadvertently. And it's done as a comedy. The original work he's making fun of was actually done by his father. He's actually making fun of one of his father's acting gigs. Cindy D says, yes, the Jackson 5 specials. I do remember the Jackson 5 specials when I was little itty bits. I would have been like 4 or 5 around then. Gary Captain says, name 3 Mr. Freezes. Ooh. Otto Preminger, and I'm going to round it off with Otto Preminger. John H. says, Carol Leifer did act on Seinfeld once, playing the assistant to Wendy Malick's character in The Kiss Hello. I did not know that. Number 1 dude says, a smorgasbord. Zublik says, no, T-Pawns, he's alive. Thank goodness gravy. Oh, Crominion says, we were talking about, he jumped at the page, but yes, we were talking about the voice of Kit in Knight Rider. Yes, Steve says, yes, Captain Nice. Oh, Kenneth Wilkinson is in the house. Hey, Kenneth, good to have you here. George Sanders. I knew that, I forgot. Otto Preminger, I got that one. And Eli Wallach, I would have never, ever gotten Eli Wallach. That is so cool. I honest to God, I did not know that. I'm a little behind, so I'm going to skip to get ahead. John H. says George Costanza's name came from Jerry Seinfeld's friend Michael Costanza, who had a cameo on the show once. I did not know that. Crominian says Eli Wallach was amazing as Tuco Ramirez, one of my favorite Western characters, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. One of my favorite films, period. Steve says William Daniels is also in my award-winning video. They're still alive and kicking. I was afraid he may have just passed. Johnny says, according to Wiki, William Daniels is still alive and will be 96 at the end of March. Someone asked. Les Jamin says, all three Catwomen: Julie Newmar, Eartha Kitt, and Lee Merriweather. Tug says, had to look it up. The guy's name is Bill Fagerbach. Don't ask me how to pronounce it. I hope I pronounced it right. Gary Carpenter says Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, Eartha Kitt. Okay, so I was right. Thank you. Skipping down. Oh, John Collins. I think I'm caught up. Yes, I skipped a few of the. Teb says Adrienne Barbeau. I don't think she played Catwoman. John Collins says, Bob, do you remember the scene in The Great Muppet Caper where Kermit was the storm drain to get into the house of John Cleese? John Cleese was so clever in that portion of the film. I haven't seen that movie since I was in middle school. Johnny says, I messed up before. Bill Fagerbach, not Patrick Warburton, was on Coach and is the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob. I thought Patrick Warburton was just a guest character. Yeah, I knew he wasn't the guy who played the assistant on Coach. Zublik says Warburton is best known for Family Guy. He certainly is. Bobby Renee gives like smiley faces. Tug says, what famous actor got his big screen debut in Michael Crichton's Coma? That would have to be Magnum PI, Tom Selleck. That would have to be Tom Selleck. He had been doing commercials before that, I believe. Madison says, anybody else ever see Earth 294 show with Clancy Brown? Yes, and in fact, if I remember correctly, the villain is played by Tim Curry. Teb says, any thoughts on the late great character actor Rennie Santoni? Give me a couple things he was in. It's not ringing a bell, I'm afraid. I'm sure I would know him if you mentioned what he was in. Gary Carpenter says Gary from Swamp Thing. Gary Carpenter says, who was the voice of the Penguin on Batman the Animated Series? Tug says, nope, Michael Douglas had been in other movies before that. Sean Innes is with us. Sean Innes, how you doing? So glad to see you. Grr, just thought this. Hey, all. It's okay, Sean. So glad you can make it. We'll be doing this for a few more minutes. No worries. Lance Chafin says, name the pilot that flew Airwolf. Jan Michael Vincent. Ziplik says, he was great as the police chief in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. A lot of people saying hi to Sean. Steve says, hey, you skipped my comment on the live stream you did 3 weeks ago. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Refresh my memory. I'll be happy to read it. Number one dude says Ernest Borgnine. Not sure what the question is, but I love it. Gary Carpenter says Jan Michael Vincent. Yes, there we go again. Oh, the character's name. I'm sorry. I haven't seen this show in years. Do I get partial credit for Jan Michael Vincent? Tug says Tom Selleck is one direct answer, but there is another. Ooh, I'm not sure the other one. I haven't seen Coma in decades. Tug says Selleck was a Marlboro man. I forgot that. If I knew it, I forgot it. I'm sure I must have at one point or other. My wife's always talking about him. Shannon says, hey to Emily Miller and Bobby Renee, and everyone says, hey. Emily Miller says, Ed Harris is, oh, that's a very, very, very good guess. That's a very good guess. Who was also in The Stand and Creepshow. Gary Carpenter says, who was the voice of the Penguin on the animated series? Still haven't got an answer to that, huh? Yeah, who's the voice of the Penguin? Tab says Paul Williams. That sounds about right. Shannon says, are we trying to stump Thrash? We're trying to stump each other. We had a trivia game earlier. Now we're just like, we seem to be just throwing out random trivia questions. And we're having a lot of fun, provided that I can catch all of them because they're kind of flying fast and furious. And I'm sure I've missed a few, and I apologize emphatically. Zublik says Renee was the sidekick of Dirty Harry in the first film. Okay, I remember that. He was very, very good at that. Tom says Tom Selleck was on the Rockwood Files, which is funny because he went on to do his own Private Eye show. Lance Chafin says Stringfellow Hawk flew Airwolf. Stringfellow Hawk. Thank you. Neutron John says Tom Selleck was going to be Indiana Jones, but lost it due to playing Magnum P. I had heard that somewhere. Gary Cameron says, no, I'll give you a hint. Bookworm. Oh, Roddy McDowell. A lot of people saying hello to each other. Number one dude says, wasn't Poppy also Cobra's sidekick? Too, could be. And Tom says, Roddy McDowell. Excellent. Emily says Harrison Ford was a great Indiana Jones, though certainly was. Yeah, a lot of people have Roddy McDowell now. Excellent. Stringfellow and his brother Saint John. Sinjin. Tom has Roddy McDowell's autograph. Excellent. Johnny says, I remember Tom Selleck in the back of a magazine in a cigarette ad back in around 77. I'll buy that. And number dude says Ed Harris in Creepshow. Yes, he certainly was. Gary Carpenter says, who was the original voice of Harley Quinn on Batman the Animated Series? Adrienne Barbeau. I don't know. Tug says Adrienne Barbeau was in Creepshow. She certainly was. John Collins says, Bob, evening for now. I bet you adieu as well. John, thank you so much for joining us. I will be in touch. I'll try to give you a call over the weekend. Things have been kind of crazy here. But have a great weekend if I don't talk to you, and I'll see you next week. Just see. Number dude says Gary to Tug. Adrienne Barbeau was John Carpenter's wife, right? Yeah, at one time she was. And yes, she was also in The Fog. Dilly Dan says some people got a strange idea of entertainment. They certainly do, don't they? Some people certainly do. Our entertainment, though, is perfectly straightforward. Let's just see what else we get going on here. Because we just jumped again. Adrienne Barbeau 5 years ago in San Jose. Tom met Adrienne Barbeau 5 years ago in San Jose. Shotton says, man, I think I saw everything Roddy McDowell ever did in the 70s and 80s. He was prolific, wasn't he? Loved him in Fright Night. He was great in Fright Night. Liz Chapin says, what was Michael's last name before he was Michael Knight on The Knight Rider? Oh, I forget. That's a good question, though. I forget, though. Zublik says, Adrian brings naughty thoughts to my mind. Emily says, Adrienne Barbeau seems like a nice person. I'm sure she is. Bobby Renee says, Sean, you saw Roddy on Columbo? Zublik says, Hasselhoff. Oh, that's his real name. Neutron John says, Roddy McDowell was getting bomb threats because people blamed him for killing Captain Kirk. For real, no joke. Really? You're kidding. That's crazy. Steve says Valerie Perrine. I'm not sure who that is, but Valerie Perrine to you as well. Tug says she's incredibly distracting in Escape from New York. She certainly is. And Emily Kira Carpenter says she had twins when she turned 50. Wow. Bobby Renee says Roddy drove a Ferrari on Colombo. I don't recall that, but I'll take your word for it. Tug says in a good way, of course. Crow says Adrian Barbeau and I have the same birth date, just 25 years apart. Daily Dan says John Carpenter is so lucky a man. He certainly is. Emily says, Gary, I couldn't imagine having kids at that age. Neither could I. Lance Javen says, before Michael Knight, it was Michael Long. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sean Innes says, John Carpenter's current wife created a comic book company from scratch. Sounds like fun. Sublik says that's why John Carpenter died young. I thought John Carpenter was still alive. Oh, no, of course. No, he died recently. Tug says Michael Long needs a glottal stop. Number one dude says Peter Vincent, vampire killer. Tug says John Carpenter is still alive, you goof. I thought he just passed on. I was reading a bio about him. I thought he just passed. I do apologize. We've lost so many people recently that I think I am confusing some. I'm glad to know John Carpenter's still alive. I'll just have to find the one who did die. But thank you, Tug, for being my living fact checker. But again, these days it's tough to tell. Sean Innes says Zuplex, LOL. He's still technically alive. I love that, technically alive. Cindy D says Janet Jackson had her first child at 50. That's crazy. Oh, someone just said Roddy was great as the devil. Roddy was a great devil. Watchamin says, hello, everyone. I finally made it. So glad you could make it. Sadly, we are literally, not figuratively, literally about to wrap up. But I'm so glad you could make it. And everybody, be sure to check out Watchamin's channel, as always. Some excellent dad jokes. And I mean that. And I'm something of an expert myself, actually. A lot of people saying hello to Watchamin. Shannon says, you mean Malcolm McDowell. Oh, Malcolm McDowell from the Star Trek. I was wondering what the connection with Roddy McDowell was. Malcolm McDowell was in the Star Trek movie where, well, I don't want to, spoiler alert. You mean Malcolm McDowell. Leave Roddy alone. Valerie Perrine, MS. Montana Wild Hack from Slaughterhouse-5. Oh, okay. Schlachthaus-5. Schlachthaus-5. Kurt Vonnegut Jr. lived the next town over from me for a while. Oh, yeah, she was in Superman as well. Okay, now I get it. Roddy McDowell played, Nicholas Momonis. Thank you for joining us, Nicholas Momonis. We are about to wrap up, but thank you. Welcome to the party. It says Roddy McDowell played a devil in the original Fantasy Island, I think. He also did that, I want to say, in Mysterious Island as well. I've seen him play at least a demon in a couple of things. He can be a very scary person when he chooses to be. Johnny says a friend of mine met Adrienne Barbeau once at a fan convention and said she was very nice. Cindy D says, yes, it was for me, number one dude, 5 years ago. I'm just going to skip through. Michael Morrow says, yes, George Burns did play that in the third Oh God film. Oh God, you devil. Yes, he played both parts. Lance Chapin says, no boss tonight. Yay! Oh, and Sean says, to Daily in the good stuff, I just read an article about him and his wife. He obliquely threw Chevy Chase under the bus for working with him on The Invisible Man. And Crimmington says, time after time with Malcolm McDowell and the amazing David Warner, who has just passed on, is one of my favorite flicks. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Excellent, excellent film. And Steve says, bye for now. And on that note, yes, we're passing the hour and a half mark. I've had so much fun. I'm so glad so many of you made it tonight. Remember everyone's homework assignment. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who missed the trivia game, please catch it in the rewatch. But everyone's homework assignment is to please go into my content channel, pick out one of my older posts, watch it, please, in its entirety. Remember what Dave says. That actually is really what helped your algorithm the most. Play it in its entirety and leave me a comment. And if you want to hit the like, please do that as well. But anyway, enjoy any of my comments that you might find, contents that you might find. Had a great time. Definitely planning to do this again next week, possibly Tuesday and Thursday, but I'll let you guys know after the weekend. And until then, everybody, remember, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.